She smirked. My old boyfriend messaged me. Maybe I'll return to him. I just nodded. Follow your heart. That weekend, at her beloved spot, she nearly dropped her purse seeing me with a very coworker she used to mock. It's funny how life has a way of showing people exactly what they've been taking for granted, usually at the most inconvenient moments possible. I'd been with Jessica for 5 years, building what I thought was something solid in our shared Denver apartment, complete with morning coffee routines and weekend plans that felt like the foundation of a real future together. I'm Blake, 32, financial analyst at Morrison & Associates, the kind of guy who believes in compound interest, reliable returns, and showing up when you say you will. Jessica worked in marketing at a boutique firm downtown, ambitious and driven, always talking about building her personal brand and making strategic career moves. That Tuesday evening in March, she walked through our apartment door with this barely concealed smirk on her face, the kind that meant she had news she was dying to share but wanted to savor the moment first. "You'll never guess who reached out to me today," she said, setting down her designer bag with deliberate casualness. I looked up from my laptop where I'd been reviewing quarterly reports. "Try me." Ryan messaged me on LinkedIn. "You remember Ryan from college, right? My ex." I remembered Ryan. Dropout who'd disappeared junior year owing everyone money, including Jessica. What's he want? Her eyes lit up with excitement she couldn't quite hide. He's been traveling through Asia for 3 years, building this incredible cryptocurrency consulting business. His LinkedIn is full of these amazing success stories, investment posts, pictures from Singapore, Tokyo, Hong Kong. He's completely transformed himself. I watched her scroll through his profile on her phone, showing me photos of expensive restaurants and business meetings. Says he learned from his mistakes and wants to discuss our unfinished business. Can you believe that? Actually, I could believe it perfectly. What I couldn't believe was that she was buying it so completely. Sounds like he's doing well for himself, I said neutrally. He is. Look at this post about his latest crypto deal, $300,000 profit in 2 weeks. She showed me a screenshot that looked suspiciously polished for someone supposedly traveling constantly. I'll be honest, Blake, I'm torn. We have this stable thing, you know? But Ryan represents this whole different life, this excitement and possibility I've been missing. There was 5 years reduced to this stable thing, while a guy who'd ghosted her after borrowing money was suddenly representing excitement and possibility. I'd been secretly planning to propose during our upcoming anniversary weekend in Aspen, had the custom-designed ring hidden in my home office safe for 2 months now. Apparently, I'd been planning a future she wasn't even sure she wanted. I've been thinking about it all day, she continued. He wants to meet up this weekend to talk about where we both are now. I know it sounds crazy, but what if this is the universe giving me a second chance at something amazing? The universe. What are you going to do? I asked. I don't know yet. I mean, you and I have something comfortable, something safe. But comfortable isn't everything, is it? Sometimes people need more than just financial security and predictable routines. Comfortable. Predictable. This from the woman who used to tell people I was the most thoughtful person she'd ever met, who bragged about how I remembered every important date and actually listened when she talked about her goals. Now I was apparently the human equivalent of a savings bond, reliable but boring. I need to be honest with you about something, she said, sitting down across from me. I've been feeling restless lately. You're wonderful, you really are, but lately I've been wondering if we want the same things. You're content with your job, your routine, your modest goals. Ryan talks about taking risks, building empires, living boldly. Living boldly with other people's money, apparently, but I kept that observation to myself. So what are you saying? I'm saying maybe I need to explore this. See what Ryan's offering. See if there's still something there worth pursuing. She reached for my hand with practiced sincerity. You understand, right? You wouldn't want me to spend the rest of my life wondering, what if, would you? The manipulation was smooth, I had to give her credit. Make it seem like she was doing us both a favor by potentially blowing up our relationship for a guy who'd proven himself unreliable once already. Follow your heart, I said simply. Her face registered surprise, like she'd expected me to fight harder, beg her to reconsider, promise to be more exciting or take bigger risks. That's it? You're just okay with this? I'm not going to convince someone to stay who's already planning to leave. If Ryan's what you want, go find out. Something flickered across her expression, disappointment maybe, or panic that her dramatic revelation hadn't gotten the desperate reaction she'd hoped for. I thought you'd be more upset. I'm processing, I said, which was true. I was processing a lot of things, including how someone I'd loved for 5 years could be so eager to throw it all away for Instagram success stories and vague promises from a guy who'd already screwed her over once. That night, lying in bed listening to her scroll through Ryan's social media posts with the volume up because of course she did, I made a decision of my own. If Jessica wanted to chase after fool's gold, that was her choice. But I wasn't going to sit around waiting to be her backup plan. The next morning, while Jessica was taking one of her increasingly long showers, I texted Megan from her marketing firm. Megan Rodriguez had always been friendly during our group outings, the kind of person who actually listened when you talked and asked thoughtful follow-up questions about your work. Hey Megan, hope you don't mind me reaching out. Could I get your thoughts on something work-related? Maybe grab coffee sometime? Her response came within minutes. Of course. I've been meaning to ask you about investment strategies anyway. How about Thursday evening? What I learned over coffee at the Rooftop Lounge, Jessica's favorite upscale networking spot where she posted weekly professional headshots with captions about building her brand, completely changed my perspective on the situation. I wasn't going to say anything, Megan began, stirring her latte thoughtfully, but Jessica's been acting strange at work lately. Taking these extended lunch breaks, leaving early for client meetings that don't exist in our company database. She paused, seeming to weigh her words carefully. And I've noticed this Ryan guy commenting on all her professional posts with messages that are way too flirtatious for LinkedIn. Hearts and fire emojis on posts about quarterly marketing reports? Come on. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. How long has this been going on? About 3 weeks. She's been super secretive about her phone, jumping every time it buzzes. Yesterday she got this huge bouquet of flowers delivered to the office with no card, claimed they were from a grateful client, but the delivery guy asked specifically for Jessica by her maiden name. The conversation flowed naturally from there, and I found myself genuinely enjoying Megan's company in a way I hadn't experienced in months. She was genuinely interested in my financial analysis work, asked intelligent questions about market trends, and shared her own frustrations with the marketing industry's obsession with superficial metrics over genuine results. I've watched Jessica manipulate situations for personal gain more times than I can count, Megan admitted. She's brilliant at reading people and telling them exactly what they want to hear. But you seem different, Blake. More genuine. When we decided to take a casual photo together, just 2 friends having coffee and discussing business strategies, I posted it with a simple caption, "Great conversation about investment planning with a fellow professional. Always learning something new." Jessica's response was immediate and explosive. My phone started buzzing within 10 minutes of posting, call after call that I let go to voicemail. The texts started coming in rapid succession. What the hell are you doing with Megan? Are you trying to sabotage my career? Why are you suddenly interested in my boring coworker? This is incredibly inappropriate and unprofessional. When I finally answered her call, her voice was shrill with panic and rage. Blake, what game are you playing here? You know I work with Megan. You're trying to poison my work relationships because I'm exploring my options with Ryan. We had coffee and talked about investments. That's it. Don't lie to me. I know what you're doing. You're trying to make me jealous, trying to manipulate me into staying by flirting with someone from my office. It's pathetic and desperate. The projection was absolutely incredible. She was accusing me of manipulation while literally cheating on our relationship with her ex-boyfriend, using company time and resources to conduct her affair. I'm not trying to make you jealous, Jessica. I told you to follow your heart, remember? But not like this. Not by humiliating me at my workplace. Megan is going to think I can't even keep my own boyfriend interested. Maybe because you can't, I said quietly. The silence stretched for what felt like an eternity. When she finally spoke, her voice was different, smaller somehow. What's that supposed to mean? It means I'm not going to sit around being your safety net while you explore your options. You want excitement and possibilities? Go get them. But don't expect me to be here waiting when it doesn't work out. Blake, that's not. I never said you were my safety net. You didn't have to say it. Your actions made it pretty clear. I hung up and turned my phone to silent. Whatever Jessica decided to do with Ryan was her business now. But I was done being treated like a consolation prize by someone who'd already checked out of our relationship emotionally. The funny thing was, sitting there with Megan had reminded me what it felt like to talk to someone who actually valued what I brought to the table, someone who saw my analytical mind and steady nature as strengths rather than limitations. For the first time in months, I felt like myself again instead of some inadequate placeholder in someone else's romantic drama. That Friday evening, I came home to find Jessica and Ryan sitting on my couch like they owned the place, both looking guilty and defensive in that particular way people do when they've been caught doing something they know is wrong. Ryan looked exactly like his LinkedIn photos, which should have been my first red flag that something was off: expensive clothes that seemed a size too big, designer watch that caught the light suspiciously like it might be a good fake, confident smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Blake, we need to talk," Jessica announced, standing up with that practiced authority she used in client meetings. "Ryan and I have been discussing our situation, and we think it's time for some honesty about where everyone stands." "Great idea," I said, pulling out my laptop and the folder I'd been preparing all week. "Let's definitely talk about honesty." I opened the bank statements I'd printed that morning, highlighting the charges that had been bothering me for weeks. "Jessica, can you explain these unauthorized charges on our joint business credit card? $5,300 in the past month alone." Ryan shifted uncomfortably while Jessica's confident facade started cracking around the edges. "Those were work expenses, networking events, client development meetings." "Really? Because Chez Laurent charges $400 per person, and according to your work calendar, you had no client meetings scheduled that Tuesday night. Same with this $1,000 weekend trip to Las Vegas, charged to the business card but somehow never submitted for reimbursement." I slid the printouts across the coffee table. "And these purchases at Best Buy and that luxury electronics store, totaling $1,800. What business equipment did we suddenly need?" Jessica's face was getting red, but Ryan jumped in with that smooth confidence that had probably worked on less analytical people. "Look, Blake, I know this seems complicated, but those were investments in Jessica's professional development. Networking costs money in our industry." "Your industry being cryptocurrency consulting, right?" I opened my laptop and pulled up the blockchain analysis I'd been working on all week. "Funny thing about crypto, Ryan, everything's publicly recorded if you know where to look. These wallet addresses you've been posting about on LinkedIn? They're all demo accounts with fake transaction histories." The color drained from Ryan's face as I showed them screenshot after screenshot of his supposed success stories cross-referenced with actual blockchain data. "Your $300,000 profit from 2 weeks ago? That's a paper trading simulation. Your Asian business expansion? Those office photos are from WeWork locations with daily passes. Even this car outside, the BMW you've been driving to impress Jessica, it's registered to a Marcus Thompson in Lakewood. Your cousin, I'm guessing?" Ryan's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. "How did you? That's private information." "Nothing's private when you're posting your supposed wallet addresses on social media, genius. I've been tracking your actual financial situation all week. You're not a successful crypto consultant, you're $57,000 in debt across multiple lending apps, your credit cards are maxed out, and you've been living in your cousin's basement for the past 6 months." Jessica turned to stare at Ryan with growing horror. "Is this true?" "Jessica, I can explain everything. I was going to pay back the credit card charges once my next big deal came through. I've got this amazing opportunity with a Dubai investment group." "With what money?" I asked. "According to your actual transaction history, you've lost over $30,000 in failed crypto trades in the past year alone. The only money you've had access to recently has been Jessica's, which you've been using to maintain this fake successful lifestyle." Jessica's voice was barely a whisper. "Ryan, tell me he's wrong. Tell me you didn't use our money to pretend you were successful. Ryan looked between us desperately, sweat beading on his forehead despite the cool evening air. I was going to pay it all back, I swear. I just needed a little time to get back on my feet. Jessica, you know how much you mean to me. This is just temporary. Temporary fraud, I said flatly. You've been scamming my girlfriend and using our joint resources to fund your fantasy life. That's not a business strategy, that's theft. The room went completely silent except for the sound of Jessica's rapid breathing as she processed everything I'd just revealed. Her face cycled through shock, embarrassment, rage, and something that looked almost like relief. Get out, she said quietly, looking at Ryan. Both of you, just get out of my apartment. Our apartment, I corrected. And I live here. But Ryan definitely needs to leave. Ryan stood up quickly, his confident persona completely shattered. Jessica, please, let me explain properly. We can work this out. Explain what? How you lied about everything. How you used me to steal money from my boyfriend. How you made me look like an idiot in front of everyone I work with. Her voice was getting louder with each word. I defended you to my coworkers, told them you'd changed, that you were this successful entrepreneur. Do you know how humiliated I am right now? As Ryan gathered his fake designer jacket and headed for the door, he turned back with one last desperate attempt at manipulation. Jessica, this doesn't change how I feel about you. Once I get back on my feet financially, we can build something real together. With whose money? I asked. Because according to these records, you don't have any of your own. The door slammed behind him with a finality that seemed to surprise Jessica as much as it did me. We sat there in silence for several minutes while she processed the complete destruction of her romantic fantasy, and I wondered what exactly happened next between us. What happened next was Jessica launching a calculated social media campaign that would have impressed me with its strategic precision if it hadn't been aimed directly at destroying my reputation. Within 48 hours of Ryan's humiliating exit, she'd crafted a series of LinkedIn posts that painted me as a financially controlling and professionally jealous partner who'd sabotaged her networking opportunities with successful entrepreneurs. Sometimes you discover that the person closest to you is the biggest obstacle to your growth. Read her first post, complete with a professional headshot and carefully chosen hashtags about breaking free from toxic partnerships. When someone monitors your business expenses and tries to isolate you from career opportunities, it's time to recognize the manipulation for what it is. The posts gained immediate traction in Denver's marketing circles, with dozens of comments from colleagues and connections offering support for her brave decision to prioritize professional growth over comfort zones. She followed up with inspirational content about refusing to let anyone dim your light and recognizing when someone's insecurities are projecting onto your success. But Jessica had made a critical error in her character assassination campaign. She'd forgotten that Megan worked in the same industry and had access to the same professional networks. While Jessica was busy portraying herself as a victim of financial abuse, Megan was quietly fact-checking her claims with mutual colleagues and sharing screenshots of Jessica's previous social media posts. Interesting how Blake went from being the most supportive partner who believes in my dreams just 2 months ago to being financially controlling now. Megan commented on one of Jessica's posts, along with a screenshot from Jessica's own Instagram where she'd bragged about my investment advice helping her build her emergency fund. Also curious about these successful entrepreneurs she mentions, since our company has no record of any of these supposed business meetings. Other coworkers started chiming in with their own observations, pointing out inconsistencies in Jessica's narrative and sharing their own uncomfortable experiences with Jessica's tendency to manipulate professional situations for personal gain. The tide really turned when a cryptocurrency investigator named Alex Johnson started commenting on Jessica's posts with some very uncomfortable questions. Interesting that you mention Ryan Martinez as a successful entrepreneur, Alex wrote. We've been tracking Mr. Martinez across 3 states for investment fraud totaling over $200,000. He's wanted for running fake cryptocurrency seminars and stealing deposits from aspiring traders. The comments section exploded as other victims began sharing their stories. Ryan Martinez took $15,000 from my retirement savings, wrote a woman from Colorado Springs. Promised me 50% returns in 3 months through his Asian market connections. Another victim added, he convinced my brother to liquidate his college fund for a cryptocurrency opportunity that never existed. We've been trying to track him down for months. More testimonies kept pouring in, each one painting a clearer picture of Ryan's systematic approach to financial fraud. Women from Denver, Boulder, even as far as Phoenix, all telling similar stories about Ryan's fake success stories, borrowed luxury items, and promises of cryptocurrency riches that never materialized. He targets women in professional fields, one commenter explained. Uses LinkedIn to research their backgrounds, then creates fake business opportunities to gain access to their savings and credit. Jessica's posts went from receiving supportive comments to becoming a catalog of Ryan's criminal activities, with victims using her comment sections to warn others and share resources for reporting fraud. Her attempt to portray me as controlling and jealous had backfired spectacularly, instead exposing her as either a willing accomplice or a spectacularly naive victim of an obvious scam. The final nail in her social media coffin came when Alex Johnson posted copies of Ryan's arrest warrants and fraud charges across multiple jurisdictions. For anyone still defending Ryan Martinez's character, he wrote, here are the official documents. Ms. Thompson, you might want to contact Denver police, since you appear to have been providing him access to financial resources and potential victims. Watching Jessica's professional reputation crumble in real time through LinkedIn notifications was almost surreal. The woman who'd spent weeks crafting her image as a savvy marketing professional was now associated with cryptocurrency fraud and financial scams. Her carefully curated professional brand, built over years of strategic networking and thought leadership posts, destroyed in a matter of days by her own poor judgment and vindictive social media campaign. By the end of the week, Jessica had deleted most of her posts and switched her LinkedIn to private, but the damage was permanent. Screenshots had been saved, shared, and documented by fraud investigators building their case against Ryan. Her attempt to destroy my reputation had instead created a digital paper trail that would follow her career for years to come. The court-mandated property division meeting 2 weeks later turned into an absolutely surreal theater of financial desperation that I'll never forget. Ryan showed up in his cousin's BMW, still trying to maintain the facade of success, but when it came time to pay the mediator's fees, he attempted to use 3 different cryptocurrency debit cards that were all declined for insufficient funds. The hired mediators, professional arbitrators who'd probably seen every kind of financial drama imaginable, watched with barely concealed amusement as Ryan's confident demeanor crumbled with each declined transaction. Perhaps we could reschedule until Mr. Martinez resolves his payment issues, the lead mediator suggested diplomatically. That's when I discovered something that made my blood run cold. My collection of rare collectible trading cards, worth approximately $15,000 and stored in a fireproof safe in my home office, was completely gone. Along with my laptop, my tablet, and Jessica's grandmother's jewelry that she'd claimed was irreplaceable. Where's my card collection? I asked Jessica directly. Her face went pale, eyes darting to Ryan, who suddenly seemed very interested in studying his fake Rolex. I don't know what you're talking about. The Pokemon and Magic cards in the fireproof safe. The one only you and I knew the combination to. Ryan cleared his throat nervously. Maybe we should focus on dividing the shared assets first, then worry about individual property disputes. But I'd already pulled out my phone and started reviewing the building's security footage that I'd requested earlier that week. Our apartment building had cameras in all the hallways, and the management company had been surprisingly cooperative when I'd explained the situation and mentioned potential theft charges. Actually, let's look at this interesting footage from last Tuesday, I said, connecting my phone to the mediator's conference room screen. That's you, Ryan, entering with Jessica's key card at 2:47 p.m., when Jessica was supposedly at her client lunch and I was in meetings all afternoon. The grainy black and white footage clearly showed Ryan entering our apartment with a key card, then leaving 43 minutes later carrying a suspicious duffel bag that definitely hadn't been with him when he'd arrived. The timestamp and building's electronic key card logs provided perfect documentation of exactly when he'd accessed our apartment and how long he'd been inside. You want to explain what was in that bag? I asked. Ryan's face had gone from confident to panicked to completely defeated in the span of about 30 seconds. Look, Blake, I can explain everything. I was desperate, okay? I had these creditors threatening me, dangerous people who don't take no for an answer. So you decided to steal from your girlfriend's ex-boyfriend? I was going to pay it back once I got on my feet. Those cards, they're just collectibles, right? You weren't using them anyway. The casual dismissal of $15,000 worth of carefully curated collectibles as just anything made me want to reach across the table, but the mediators were already taking notes and asking very pointed questions about criminal activity and police involvement. Mr. Martinez, the lead mediator, interrupted, "Are you admitting to theft of personal property?" Jessica jumped in desperately. "He didn't mean it like that. Ryan's been under incredible stress. He's not thinking clearly." "Actually," I said, pulling up another screen on my phone, "the building management company mentioned this isn't the first theft incident they've investigated involving Mr. Martinez. Apparently, there have been 3 other complaints from tenants in buildings where Ryan had access through various girlfriends." The room went completely silent as I shared the property management company's email detailing previous incidents where valuable items had gone missing from apartments that Ryan had visited. Electronics, jewelry, cash, even prescription medications, all from apartments belonging to women who'd been dating Ryan and given him access to their homes. Ryan broke down completely at that point, tears streaming down his face as he admitted everything. "I never meant for it to go this far. I started with small stuff, things I thought people wouldn't miss. But the gambling debts kept getting bigger, and these people, they don't care about explanations or payment plans." "What gambling debts?" Jessica asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Sports betting, cryptocurrency futures trading, poker games with people who charge interest rates that would make loan sharks blush. I owe almost $80,000 to people who've made it very clear what happens if I don't pay." The mediators were already reaching for their phones to contact law enforcement as Ryan continued his confession, detailing months of systematic theft from multiple victims to fund his gambling addiction and maintain his fake lifestyle. Jessica sat there in stunned silence as she realized she'd not only enabled a criminal but had potentially made herself an accessory to multiple felonies by providing access and covering for his activities. 3 weeks after Ryan's arrest for multiple counts of theft and fraud, I thought the nightmare was finally over. I was wrong. Jessica launched one final, desperate manipulation attempt that was so brazen and poorly executed that it actually impressed me with its sheer audacity. She called me at work on a Thursday morning, voice trembling with what sounded like genuine panic, claiming she'd discovered evidence that I had been embezzling client funds through my financial analysis work. "Blake, I found something terrible on your computer before I moved out," she said, her words tumbling together in rehearsed urgency. "Bank transfer records, email chains with clients, evidence that you've been manipulating their investment accounts for personal gain. I have to report this to the SEC and your licensing board." The accusation was so absurd and desperate that I almost laughed. "Jessica, you're going to accuse me of the exact same crimes your boyfriend just got arrested for? I have screenshots, Blake. Fake transactions, doctored statements, evidence of you stealing from your own clients. Unless you want your career destroyed, we need to discuss settlement terms for our property division." She'd actually created fabricated screenshots of bank transfers and fake email chains that supposedly showed me moving client funds into personal accounts. The forgeries were amateur-level obvious, with inconsistent fonts, wrong bank routing formats, and email timestamps that would have been impossible given my actual work schedule, but she seemed convinced they'd be enough to scare me into compliance. "Send me everything you think you have," I told her calmly. "I'll forward it directly to my compliance department for review." The silence on the other end told me she hadn't expected that response. "Blake, don't be stupid about this. Just agree to let me keep the apartment and half your savings, and this all goes away quietly. Or I could let my firm's investigators and the authorities handle your extortion attempt." Within 6 hours of receiving Jessica's fabricated evidence, my company's compliance department had conducted a thorough audit of my client accounts, computer access logs, and transaction histories. The investigation not only cleared me completely but revealed something far more serious. Jessica had been attempting to access my work computer remotely using passwords she'd observed over the years, which constituted corporate espionage and potentially criminal hacking. Mr. Blake, my compliance officer explained during our meeting, these login attempts from your home IP address occurred during times when you were physically in the office and logged into your workstation here. Someone was definitely trying to access confidential client information without authorization. The IT department's forensic analysis revealed dozens of failed login attempts to my work systems, all originating from my home internet connection during hours when I was verifiably at the office. Jessica had been systematically trying to hack into my client databases for months, probably hoping to find something she could use as leverage or blackmail material. But the investigation uncovered something even worse. She'd been sharing whatever client information she could access with Ryan, who had been using it to target my wealthy clients with his fraudulent cryptocurrency investment schemes. Phone records showed multiple calls between Jessica and Ryan during which they discussed my clients' investment portfolios, risk tolerance levels, and available liquid assets. We found evidence that at least 4 of your clients were contacted by Mr. Martinez with personalized investment pitches that referenced confidential information only available through their account files. The compliance officer continued. Mr. Martinez used specific details about their current holdings and financial goals that could only have come from someone with access to our internal systems. Jessica's employer terminated her immediately when they discovered she'd been using company computers and networks for personal vendettas and potentially exposing them to massive legal liability through her harassment campaign and hacking attempts. The law firm representing Ryan's other victims added new charges to their case when they learned about Jessica's role in providing access to potential targets and confidential financial information. Within a month, Jessica went from a successful marketing professional with a bright career trajectory to unemployed, facing potential criminal charges for corporate espionage, and dealing with multiple civil lawsuits from fraud victims who discovered her involvement in Ryan's schemes. Her LinkedIn profile, once a carefully curated showcase of professional accomplishments, now served as evidence in criminal proceedings. The woman who'd once bragged about her strategic thinking and professional networking had managed to destroy her entire career through a combination of poor judgment, criminal associations, and spectacularly bad decision-making. Meanwhile, my firm not only cleared me of all allegations but commended me for identifying and reporting the security breach, leading to improved protocols that protected other employees from similar attacks. The attempted frame job had backfired so completely that it actually enhanced my professional reputation and demonstrated my commitment to ethical business practices. 6 months later, I was sitting in Megan's new office space in the trendy Rhino district of Denver, reviewing investment portfolios for her rapidly growing boutique marketing consultancy and marveling at how dramatically my life had improved once I'd removed toxic people from it. Megan had left Jessica's former company shortly after the scandal broke, deciding that the negative association and workplace drama weren't worth the steady paycheck, and had taken the leap into entrepreneurship with a business plan that actually made financial sense. "Blake, look at these Q3 numbers," she said, sliding the quarterly reports across her desk with genuine excitement. "We're already at 180% of projected revenue, and I've got 3 major clients wanting to expand their contracts for next year." What had started as casual coffee meetings about investment strategies had evolved into a genuine romantic relationship built on mutual respect and shared professional interests, plus a business partnership where both our careers benefited from collaboration rather than competition. I'd been promoted to senior financial analyst at Morrison & Associates, largely due to the recognition I'd received for identifying and preventing the security breach Jessica had orchestrated, and was now helping Megan develop comprehensive financial strategies for her growing client base. "The best part," Megan continued, "is that these aren't clients who want quick fixes or get-rich-quick schemes. They understand that sustainable growth takes time and strategic planning." She was absolutely right. Her clients were established businesses looking for authentic marketing strategies that built long-term value, not desperate entrepreneurs chasing cryptocurrency fantasies or hoping to manipulate their way to success. Meanwhile, Jessica's situation had continued its downward spiral in ways that would have seemed impossible just a year ago. Through mutual friends and occasional LinkedIn updates from people still connected to her network, I'd learned that she was working at a call center in a Denver suburb, living with her parents in their basement, and facing multiple lawsuits from Ryan's victims who discovered her role in providing access to potential targets through stolen client information. Ryan remained in federal custody facing wire fraud charges across multiple states, with prosecutors using Jessica's text messages as key evidence of his systematic approach to financial manipulation and victim targeting. The cryptocurrency investigation had expanded to include money laundering charges after authorities discovered he'd been using stolen funds to pay gambling debts and maintain his fake lifestyle across several states. "I saw Jessica's mom at the grocery store last week," Megan mentioned casually while reviewing contract details. "She looked absolutely mortified when she recognized me. Just grabbed her groceries and practically ran to the checkout." I felt a brief moment of sympathy for Jessica's family, who'd done nothing wrong but were now dealing with the embarrassment and legal complications of their daughter's spectacular fall from professional grace. But then I remembered how Jessica had tried to destroy my career and potentially send me to prison with fabricated evidence, and the sympathy evaporated pretty quickly. "Speaking of recognition," Megan said, pulling out her phone with a mischievous smile, "I think it's time we made this official." She showed me the LinkedIn post she drafted, excited to announce the expansion of Rodriguez Marketing Solutions and our new strategic partnership with Morrison & Associates. When you combine authentic marketing strategies with sound financial planning, amazing things happen. Grateful to work alongside someone who shares my commitment to building genuine value for our clients. The post included a professional photo of us in her office, surrounded by growth charts and client testimonials, looking like the successful business partners we'd actually become. Within hours of posting, the response was overwhelmingly positive from colleagues, clients, and industry connections who recognized that our partnership represented everything Jessica and Ryan's relationship had pretended to be: genuine professional collaboration, mutual respect, shared success, and authentic value creation. The contrast was absolutely stark. Where Jessica had used social media to manipulate perceptions and attack people who threatened her narrative, Megan used it to celebrate genuine achievements and build authentic professional relationships. Where Ryan had fabricated success stories and stolen resources to maintain his image, we were building real wealth through honest work and strategic planning. 6 months later, when we announced our engagement through a simple post about launching our joint consulting venture, the comments section filled with congratulations from people who'd watched our relationship develop naturally and authentically. No dramatic proclamations about finding real love or escaping toxic partnerships, just two professionals who'd found each other and decided to build something meaningful together, both personally and professionally.